there are 3 things Vietnamese women hate. And these things are drinking, smoking and gambling. So if you want to be successful with Vietnamese women, then in today's video I'm gonna share with you what you need to advertise in order to make a good impression on a Vietnamese woman. Just to give you a bit of a context, Vietnamese men, they smoke, they drink and they gamble. This is especially the gambling part is a cultural thing. Vietnamese people are very close to Chinese people, and those of you guys who lived in China also know that Chinese people are very big in gambling. Smoking, drinking, gambling. The funny thing is though that in the mind of a Vietnamese woman, in many minds, they think that foreigners would never do that kind of stuff. That's actually funny. So let's start with the first thing, smoking. Most of Vietnamese men really do smoke. I can confirm this because I lived in Vietnam, I worked in Vietnam, and it's very hard now when I think back to name one of my male colleagues who did not smoke cigarettes. Even doctors in Vietnam smoke. Even cancer doctors, they smoke cigarettes. It's unbelievable, but that's the case, you know. The only kind of men who would probably not smoke are committed Buddhists or very health conscious people or sportsmen, athletes, you know, these kind of stuff. On the other side, Vietnamese women, they don't smoke. I can confirm this. The regular, normal Vietnamese girl, Vietnamese woman is not smoking. There are, although, a few categories of women who do smoke. And these are number 1, prostitutes or hookers. Number 2, maybe really crazy party rocker girls, that kind of stuff. And you have old rural women in Vietnam from the villages, you know, from the mountain area maybe, who sometimes smoke. You can see them smoking. So if you want to date a Vietnamese woman and want to be successful, you should advertise that you don't smoke. Vietnamese women, they don't like the smell of smoke. This is the main reason. This is also what I know by talking to them. And you know, in former times I was smoking also cigarettes, and these women will not really push you or press you to stop smoking, but you know, because they are more submissive and more feminine, you know, but they will hint and they will let you know, and they also comment on that, you know, on that smoking activity. The second thing is gambling. So here again, Vietnamese people in general, they are gambling a lot, especially the men. This is in their culture, and you might have watched this already when you are outside on the streets in Vietnam and you're walking down the road and you see especially the street cafes, you know, sometimes there's a bunch of men sitting around a board and they play their typical Vietnamese board games, you know, and then of course money is involved and other stuff, you know. There are bookmakers who really go around the neighborhood, and you can bet on anything. You can bet on the weather, you can bet on literally everything. So gambling is really popular, especially among Vietnamese men. So what's the problem with gambling? I don't think I need to tell you, but also in Vietnam that leads to money issues, right? So Vietnamese men most likely would gamble their salary away or their savings away and that kind of stuff. And that also leads then to that they have to take up a loan with these loan sharks, you know, which is a very serious thing in Vietnam and in China also. Loan sharks, this is very, if you get involved with them, better you don't get involved with them, you know. So that can lead to that kind of trouble, right? So if you want to impress a Vietnamese woman, then you should advertise that you don't gamble. Or if you gamble, then just minimize it, or just say that you gamble on official occasions, you know, like birthdays or something like that. The funny thing here also is that Vietnamese women, they really believe, I think most of them, in their minds, they believe that foreigners do not gamble. Yeah. And this is true. I mean, yes, Westerners, let's say Western foreigners, they do gamble, especially in the United States here, you know, Las Vegas and all that kind of stuff. You have many casinos, and Americans are they are kind of big in gambling. But in Europe, and I'm from Germany, I can confirm, I don't know anybody of my circle of former friends who gambled, you know, not in the casino, not at home, not when we went to a club or a bar or disco or something like that. We never gambled. It never came to our mind. It's really not in our culture. What people do in Germany, for example, and I assume in other European countries, is that they play the lottery, you know, and they hope to become a millionaire. That's what people do. But normally regular men don't gamble in my culture. So this is a big advantage for you if you want to impress a Vietnamese woman. Woman, not women, right? Singular. So the next thing, drinking. This is a little bit a different story because there are two different, let's say, drinking styles when you compare them, the Western drinking style and the Vietnamese drinking style. Of course, Vietnamese people drink, and you also see the girls and the women drink alcohol. I can confirm this, especially on the weekends, you know. But here's the thing with Vietnamese men. The Vietnamese men, they tend to binge drink, you know. So they do not drink alcohol, let's say, on a daily basis, but when they drink, then they really binge drink. They get loaded, and the problem residing out of this is domestic violence. That's a big problem, you know. Then, of course, gambling, you know, and prostitutes, visiting prostitutes, which is very popular among Vietnamese men when they drink in a group, binge drink and stuff like that. So of course later they will want to enjoy their time and just visiting some hookers, right? So it's the opposite case actually with Westerners. You know, Western men, they might drink more often, but not so much at once. But of course, Westerners also binge drink. I mean, I can confirm this from my, when I was younger, you know, when I was a younger man, of course, we also did binge drinking in Germany, right? But the thing, again, in a Vietnamese woman's mind, when you binge drink and you just throw up on the road, you know, because in Saigon or in Hanoi you might observe this, you know, especially in Saigon you have this entertainment district there, and then you see a bunch of backpackers and stuff, you know, Westerners, some young dudes who want to have a good time, hook up with the ladies and binge drink and this and that. So, and they might have seen these young folks just getting drunk and throwing up. But for a Vietnamese woman, this is still better, even it's silly, that's still better than just a Vietnamese guy is getting drunk, coming home and then starts all the trouble, you know, and then eventually beating the woman, this domestic violence stuff. And this is also one of the main causes why Vietnamese women eventually get divorced. And you can, when you are in Vietnam and you start to date women, especially single moms who are single, obviously, and you dig a little bit deeper, then you will find out that these women, they are divorced, you know. And then when you dig a little more deeper, she will tell you about these sad stories, you know. Especially domestic violence is apparently a case in Vietnam, and yeah, and probably money issues as well. Yeah. So again, if you want to impress a Vietnamese woman, you have to advertise to her that you either don't drink at all or just you drink very little. Okay. And I also want to talk about a fourth issue here, which is weed, smoking weed. There's actually not much to say, but just for those of you guys who maybe just come from Thailand over to Vietnam, I know in Thailand it's legal now, since I think a year or something like that, to smoke weed. You can legally buy it here, and you can legally also consume it here. But in Vietnam it's a different story. And before I forget, coming back to the drinking, it's not really smart to when you let's say you drink alcohol, it's not really smart to tell the woman how much you can drink. Yeah, you will not impress her with that. Okay, that would be really silly and stupid, you know. So coming back to the weed, number one, weed is illegal in Vietnam. Yeah, and if you get punished for the possession or consumption, these punishments are even harsher than let's say in Europe or in the United States. Okay. Weed has the image of, let's say, cocaine or heroin or even crystal meth, like in the United States or in Europe. You know, it is just bad. It is considered bad stuff. It's like, I remember when I was younger in the 90s, you know, when I was in school, you know, they taught us all about these drugs, illegal drugs and stuff like that. And they all put these drugs in one basket, you know, weed, cocaine, heroin, and at the time there was, I think, no crystal meth. So, they tried to sell us that also weed is a very dangerous drug, you know, and you can get addicted and all that kind of stuff. Of course, when you do your research and you maybe also experiment a little bit, then you will find out that you really have to distinguish between certain so-called drugs, you know. I don't want to go into this topic here. I just want to explain to you how Vietnamese people think about it and why. Definitely, they are being taught in school and also socially that drugs are something very bad. And so I believe it is in other countries and cultures. And they don't make any difference between, you know, weed, cocaine, and heroin. It's just bad stuff. And this is what you have to keep in mind. So you will not impress a Vietnamese woman if you're just sitting around smoking a joint. And if you even would offer her a joint, then I don't think she would be impressed either, okay? Because in the mind of a Vietnamese girl or woman, she most likely would think that you are an addict. That's it. If you smoke a joint, if she sees you smoking a joint, she probably thinks, this guy is an addict. Even you might not be an addict, you know, but that's just how it is. And also one more thing, the Vietnamese government, I think, is very proud of always claiming that there is no criminal, it's not criminalized or something like that, or that addiction or addicted people are not criminalized, something like that, you know, but that the Vietnamese government is sending them to rehab, you know. That sounds really nice when you hear it the first time, but if you know that rehab actually means a labor camp, and maybe you think a little bit differently, you know. And then, in this labor camp, you have to check out some videos or some blog posts. You can just imagine what is going on in these kind of labor camps. You know, Vietnam is still officially a communist country, and you don't want to end up in these kind of facilities. So again, to recap, drinking, smoking and gambling, these are the 3 things Vietnamese women actually really don't like. They most likely hate it in a man when they date them, when they are focusing on a long-term relationship or even marriage. So that's what I want to say today in this video. And yeah, and take advantage of this, what Vietnamese women also believe about foreigners, or let's say Western foreigners. They believe that we don't gamble, and yeah, that we don't binge drink, you know, that kind of stuff. Looking forward to your comments. I'm checking out. See you in one of my next videos. Take care. Bye bye.